Okay, let's unpack this. If you've ever tried to learn English, or, well, really any new language, you've probably hit that infuriating wall. That moment when a perfectly clear idea in your head just slams into a mental traffic jam trying to get out in English. And what comes out feels clunky, maybe unnatural, and frankly, a bit like a Frankenstein's monster of language, right? Stitched together from parts that don't quite fit. You know that feeling?
Oh, absolutely. That frustration, that feeling of exhaustion sometimes. It's the work of, well, a really insidious culprit. Mental translation. It's not just some minor bad habit. I'd say it's the single greatest obstacle. It's the ultimate fluency killer standing between you and that effortless natural English you're aiming for. Because, true fluency isn't just about getting the message across. It's about connecting
Yeah.
directly, intuitively.
Right. And that's exactly our mission today. This deep dive is basically your comprehensive manual for defeating this killer. We're going to deconstruct why you get caught in this translation loop and then give you a complete practical framework for rewiring your brain. You're getting a clear, actionable blueprint to finally silence that translator in your head and, set your English free. So if you're listening now, how do you actually know if you're caught in this mental translation trap? What are the signs, the telltale signs that this fluency killer is active?
Well, the most immediate sign, the one almost everyone notices, is what we can call the awkward pause, or maybe just the lag.
Hmm.
And this isn't you thoughtfully considering your words.
Yeah.
It's a real processing delay. Imagine your brain trying to juggle like 5 different things at once. First, you hear the English. Second, you have to translate that into your native language. And third, you figure out your answer, but in your native language. Fourth, you painstakingly translate that answer back, often word by word, into English. And only then, finally, number 5, you actually speak.
Wow, that's a lot of steps.
Yeah. It's a monumental cognitive load. Compare that to fluency, which is just one step, idea directly to English. This detour, it absolutely kills the natural rhythm of a conversation.
Okay, so the lag, that pause, is one big sign. But what about when you do manage to speak, but the words they don't sound quite right? Maybe grammatically okay, but they feel, I don't know, off, like they're wearing a costume.
Yes. You've hit on symptom number 2, unnatural phrasing and those foreign-sounding sentences, and that's a direct result of literal translation. You're basically importing the structure, the rhythm, even the way ideas are linked, directly from your native language into English. Think about common examples. A speaker of a Romance language might say, I have 25 years. It's a direct translation, but in English, it's, I'm 25 years old.
Right.
Or you might say, I made a decision. Perfectly grammatical. But for a quick choice, a native speaker would almost always just say, I decided. It's more natural, more direct. And idioms, oh, they're the ultimate trap.
Yeah, you can't just translate those literals.
Exactly. Try translating it's raining cats and dogs literally into another language. It makes no sense. These translated sentences, they just lack the idiomatic soul of English.
And this constant effort, this translating, it leads to something I hear learners mention all the time, just feeling wiped out. Pure exhaustion after a conversation. Is that connected?
Absolutely. Symptom 3 is mental and physical exhaustion. And here's something that might surprise you. That drained feeling. It isn't just general tiredness. It's your brain literally running 2 separate competing language programs at the same time. And that burns energy like crazy.
Like running 2 operating systems at once.
Exactly. Mental translation is an incredibly energy-intensive process. You're basically being your own real-time interpreter. Native speakers aren't doing this constant calculation. For them, language is intuitive, it's low energy. But if you're translating, it's a conscious, exhausting effort. No wonder you feel like you've just run a marathon or, finished a really tough exam.
Wow, yeah, that really puts it into perspective. It's like your brain's CPU is just maxed out constantly. I'm curious, though, does this affect how we understand English, too? Not just speaking? Because I've definitely felt lost in fast conversations, like I'm always a step behind.
That's a really sharp question. And yes, it brings us straight to symptom 4, poor listening comprehension in fast conversations. You might follow a slow lecture fine, or a movie with subtitles, no problem. But then a quick, natural chat happens and you're completely lost. Why? Well, while the native speaker is already on their 3rd sentence, your internal translator is still back there, laboriously trying to decode sentence number 1.
Ah, so you're always playing catch-up.
Perpetually behind. You only catch fragments, maybe keywords, and you're sort of waiting for these chunks of sound to buffer so your internal translation software can try to piece it together. It's a constant feeling of chasing the conversation.
Okay. And what about grammar? Because, for so many of us, grammar rules were hammered into us. They felt like the foundation of learning English.
And ironically, that leads us to our final symptom, symptom 5, an over-reliance on grammar rules. Your speech gets slow, hesitant, because you're consciously thinking, okay, wait, this happened yesterday, so simple past tense, the verb is go, irregular, went.
Right, doing the mental calculation.
It's the absolute opposite of how native speakers work. They operate on intuition, this feeling of what just sounds right. That intuition is built from, massive amounts of exposure, not from memorizing verb tables. By constantly referring back to the rules, you actually prevent yourself from developing that essential native-like gut feeling for the language.
That's a really important point.
Look, if you recognize these symptoms in yourself, please don't despair. It doesn't mean you're bad at English. Not at all. It just means you're using a flawed method. And chances are, it's the method you were taught right from your very first English class. So why? Why do so many of us translate in our heads?
It's definitely not a natural stage you have to go through. For the vast majority of learners, it's a direct result, maybe an unintended one, but a direct result of how they were first taught English. And this brings us to the ghost in the machine, so to speak, the grammar translation method. It's the traditional way languages have been taught in schools, well, all over the world for centuries. And honestly, for many people, it's still the dominant approach.
That's fascinating. So paint a picture for us.
Yeah.
What did that actually look like in the classroom for someone learning English?
Okay, picture this. You get long lists of English vocabulary, and next to each word, a direct single-word translation in your native language. So dog equals Perot, chair equals Scylla, just a direct swap.
Right, memorizing lists. Exactly. And you'd learn complex grammar rules, often explained in your native language, usually before you could even string together a basic, hello, how are you, your exercises. Almost entirely translation. Translate this English sentence into your language. Translate this sentence from your language into English. Reading comprehension wasn't about understanding the text directly. It was tested by how accurately you could translate it.
So the focus was always on moving between the two languages.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And crucially, the classes themselves, mostly conducted in your native language. English was treated like history or math, an academic subject to be analyzed, dissected like a puzzle, not a living thing to actually use spontaneously. Now, this method, maybe without meaning to, but very effectively, trains your brain to believe that English isn't its own complete system. It teaches you that English is just a code for your native language. It builds this permanent artificial bridge between the two languages and forces your brain to run back and forth across it for every single thought, every piece of information. It actively stops you from building a direct connection.
Yeah, it's such a stark contrast when you stop and think about how a little kid learns their first language.
Exactly. Think about a toddler. They see a dog. Their parent points and just says, dog. And boom, a direct connection is made. That furry thing, that sound, they become one thing in the child's mind. There's no intermediate language, no translation step needed. The word is the thing.
Learned through experience, through context.
Right, through direct connection to the world. The grammar translation method does the complete opposite. It suddenly tells you, dog isn't the actual creature, it's just the English way of saying whatever word you already use for it. So you've been systematically trained, often from day one, to lean on your native language as a crutch.
Yeah.
And that is a really, really hard habit to break.
So breaking free isn't just about learning a few new vocabulary words or tricks.
Not at all. It's about fundamentally unlearning the core way you've approached English, maybe for years. It demands nothing less than a complete paradigm shift in how you think about language itself.
A paradigm shift. That's a big idea. So the goal here is really profound then. It's about stopping treating English like some foreign code you have to constantly decipher, and instead treating it as its own separate, self-contained system for thinking. We're essentially aiming to build a second brain, right? Or what we're calling an English brain.
Exactly. Think of it using a computer analogy, maybe. Your native language is your main OS, your primary operating system. Right now, to use English, you're running this slow, clunky translation program on top of that main OS. Sure, it kind of works, but it's inefficient, it crashes, it uses up all your mental RAM.
Yeah, that mental exhaustion we talked about.
Precisely. The real goal is to install a whole new parallel English OS. So you can essentially dual boot your brain. You want to be able to switch seamlessly into English mode, where English itself becomes the default language for your thoughts, your ideas, with absolutely no intermediary steps. And the cornerstone principle, the absolute bedrock for making this happen, is simple to say but incredibly powerful. Word equals meaning, not word equals other word.
Say that again. Word equals meaning.
Not word equals other word. This is critical. You have to consciously, deliberately work to sever that link your brain automatically makes between an English word and its translation. Instead, you need to forge a direct, strong, unbreakable link between the English word and the actual thing. It represents the raw concept, the image, the feeling, the pure idea, non-linguistic.
Okay, that sounds revolutionary, but maybe a bit abstract. Could you give us some really concrete examples? How does that feel different? How can listeners make that
Absolutely. Let's
connect?
make it concrete. When you encounter the English word chair, your mind shouldn't jump to the word for chair in Spanish or French or Japanese. Instead, your brain should immediately conjure up an image of an actual chair, or just the concept of sitting, the function.
Oh,
If you
wow.
hear or read the word rain, don't think of the translated word. Instead, try to access the sensory details directly. The smell of wet earth, the gray sky, the sound of drops maybe hitting a roof, the feeling of dampness.
So connecting to the experience.
Exactly. And for abstract words like sad, connect it straight to that universal human emotion, that feeling in your chest, the slump in your shoulders, the quietness. Not the word triste or trorig or whatever it is in your language. Now, this is a gradual process, obviously. It's conscious rewiring. You are literally building millions of new neural pathways in your brain. Pathways that connect English words directly to the world, to your senses, to your feelings, bypassing that old, slow translation bridge entirely.
Okay, this is where we get super practical. We've diagnosed the problem. We've talked about the crucial mindset shift, that paradigm shift. Now let's introduce the 5-level immersion framework. Think of this as your progressive system, your step-by-step guide for actually installing that English OS we talked about and making it your primary way of thinking.
Right. Let's dive in. We start with level 1. Island hopping, forging direct links with words and objects. The main goal here is simple. Make concrete nouns and basic action verbs English native inside your brain. Stop translating them. So, techniques. The classic post-it note method is great here. Label everything around you. Your desk is desk, your mug is mug, your window is window.
So you see the object and the English word together constantly.
Exactly, building that direct visual link. Then there's the pointing game. As you go about your day, just silently, in your head, name things you see in English. Car, tree, cloud, person walking. No translation, just direct naming. And for digital tools, image-based flashcards are fantastic. English word on one side, but on the other. Not a translation. A picture, a GIF, something visual that represents the word.
So you're forcing the brain to connect word to image, bypassing the translation step.
Completely bypassing it. That's the key at this level.
I love that pointing game. It's so simple, but seems like it would really build those basic connections without pressure.
It's incredibly effective. And once you start building those direct word-to-object links, we move up to level 2, the inner monologue weaving words into simple sentences. The goal now is to make simple, descriptive thinking in English a daily, automatic habit. Probably the most powerful technique here is, what am I doing now? Just narrate your own actions to yourself, silently in your head, using simple present tense English.
Sure.
I am walking to the kitchen. I am opening the fridge. I am pouring water. It might feel a bit strange at first,
A little bit, yeah.
but it's profoundly effective at generating original thoughts in English based on your immediate context. You'd add, what do I see? So instead of just thinking car, you think, that is a red car. The car is driving fast. Simple descriptive sentences. And also start using simple thinking verbs for basic opinions. I think this coffee is good. I like this weather. I want to go for a walk.
That makes sense. It's all low pressure because it's just in your head, right?
Yeah.
No one's listening or judging. So once you're comfortable narrating your immediate world like that, where do we go next?
Then we ramp it up a bit to level 3. The personal narrator expressing complex thoughts and situations. This level is about handling more complex ideas, moving beyond the immediate present, using different tenses, talking about past events, future plans, summarizing things. So techniques look like narrate your day. At the end of the day, maybe before bed, mentally recount the key events in English. This morning, I woke up at 7, then I had breakfast. After work, I went to the gym.
Using past tenses naturally.
Exactly. And the flip side is plan your day. In the morning, think through your schedule and intentions in English. Today, I need to finish that report. Then I will call my client. Later, I'm meeting Sarah for coffee. Using future forms. Another great one is the inner summary technique. After you read an article, watch a short video, or even listen to a chunk of this deep dive, pause and summarize the main points in your head, just for yourself, in English.
Testing your comprehension and practicing formulation.
Right. And for a real mental workout, try debate yourself. Pick a simple topic, cats versus dogs, working from home versus office, doesn't matter, and mentally argue both sides of the issue. entirely in English.
Okay, so level 3 is definitely stretching those mental muscles more, moving beyond just observing. What about getting more input? Fueling this new English brain?
Ah, yes. Crucial. That's level 4. Constructing your world, the input immersion engine. Levels 1 to 3 focused on building your internal thinking ability. Level 4 is about relentlessly fueling that ability with high-quality English input. Because to truly think deeply and naturally in English, you need a massive, consistent supply of the language. The goal here is to make English the default sound and text in your daily life as much as possible.
So practically, what does that look like?
Start with your digital environment. Change your phone's language setting to English, your computer OS, your social media interfaces. Immerse your digital world. Then carefully curate your English-only media diet. Listen to music in English, but actively look up and read the lyrics. Find podcasts like this one, but also on topics you're passionate about. Hobbies, news, science, whatever in English.
YouTube channels too, I suppose.
Absolutely. Subscribe to English YouTube channels related to your interests. Watch TV shows and movies in English. Start with subtitles in your native language if you need to, then switch to English subtitles, and the ultimate goal is no subtitles at all.
Gradual progression.
Exactly. And finally, crucial. Read, read, read. Start with graded readers if you need to. They're fantastic. Then move to online news articles, blogs on topics you enjoy, and eventually dive into fiction, novels. This constant, intentional exposure is what stocks your English brain with the vocabulary, the sentence structures, the natural phrasing it needs to operate smoothly.
That's a huge shift. Making English not just something you study for an hour, but the environment you live in, linguistically speaking. So, okay, you're thinking in English internally, you're soaking up English input. How do we complete the circle? How do we get that internal English out into the world naturally?
That brings us to the final level, level 5. Living the language to it jacket. The output activation loop. Thinking in English is the foundation, but it needs to be activated. This level is about closing that loop, creating a seamless connection between your English thoughts and actually speaking or writing in English. A key technique, though it feels odd initially, is talk to yourself out loud.
Really? Out loud?
Yes, take that inner monologue from level 2 and 3 and just say it. Narrate what you're doing while cooking dinner. Summarize that article you just read to the empty room. Describe the view from your window out loud. It builds crucial muscle memory for your mouth and vocal cords, and it builds confidence in producing English sounds.
Okay, I can see that. What else?
The shadowing technique is incredibly powerful for fluency and pronunciation. Listen to a short clip of a native speaker. It could be from a podcast, a TV show, an audiobook, and try to speak along with them, mimicking their rhythm, their intonation, their pauses as closely as possible.
Like being their echo.
Precisely. It trains your mouth and ears simultaneously. And, critically, you need to find low-stakes speaking opportunities. This is non-negotiable. Use language exchange apps. Find informal conversation practice partners online. Book sessions with tutors on platforms like italki just for conversation, not grammar lessons. Maybe even join a local Toastmasters club if there's one nearby. Great for structured speaking practice.
The key is regular practice without high pressure.
Exactly. Frequent low-pressure output. And finally, don't underestimate journaling in English. Just 5 or 10 minutes a day. Write about your day, your thoughts, your plans. It's basically thinking in English, but on paper or screen. It helps organize thoughts and practice sentence structure in a totally safe environment.
Wow, that is an incredibly detailed framework, a real roadmap from those first Post-it notes to actually living in the language. But, we all know that even with the best map, you hit roadblocks. So, let's troubleshoot. What are some common obstacles listeners might face when they try to implement this, and how can they overcome them?
Great idea, because obstacles will come up. The first, and probably the most common, is that moment of panic. Obstacle 1, help, I don't know the word in English.
Yeah.
This is the exact moment your brain screams, translate, quick, look it up.
Right. The instinct is to grab the phone, use the dictionary.
That's the wrong response in this context, because it breaks the flow and reinforces the translation habit. The right response is to immediately use the describe around it strategy, also known as circumlocution. Force yourself right there in the moment to describe the concept using the English words you do know. So if you forget the word scissors, don't stop. Say, I need that. That thing. You use it to cut paper, it's got 2 metal parts, and you put your fingers in the holes.
Talking around the word.
Exactly. If you forget architect, describe them. The person who designs buildings. They draw the plans for a new house or an office block. This does 2 amazing things. First, It keeps the conversation going, or your train of thought going if you're just thinking. Second, it's an incredible problem-solving exercise for your emerging English brain. It forces you to be creative with the English you have.
That's brilliant. It turns a moment of panic into a learning opportunity, almost like a mini game for your brain. Okay, but what about more abstract stuff? Obstacle 2. How do I think about abstract concepts like love or justice or freedom? You can't stick a post-it note on justice, right?
Precisely. You can't draw it easily, you can't point to it. So the key here is to stop trying to find a single perfect translated word. That's the old way. Instead, you have to absorb the meaning of these complex abstract concepts through massive exposure to how they are used within the English-speaking world. So, to truly grasp justice in English, you need to read English articles about legal systems, maybe watch movies or documentaries about trials, listen to debates where people discuss social justice.
So you see it used in context, many contexts.
Exactly. You pay attention to how the word is used, the other words it commonly appears with its collocations like social justice, seek justice, bring someone to justice, the justice system. You observe the nuances, the different facets of meaning it takes on in different situations. You're essentially building a rich, complex English mind map around the concept, filled with examples, situations, and related ideas, not just trying to link it to one single word in your native language. It's about building that network of meaning in English.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Building the meaning from the ground up within English itself. But let's be honest, even with all these great strategies, old habits die hard. Obstacle 3. I keep accidentally switching back to my native language in my head. Does that mean I'm failing? That I'm not cut out for this?
Not at all. Let me reassure everyone listening. That is completely, absolutely 100% normal. Expected even. Your brain has been using that translation pathway for years, maybe decades. It's the well-worn path, the path of least resistance. Of course, it's going to slip back sometimes. The solution is simple, but requires consistency. The catch-and-switch technique. The moment you notice, oops, I was just thinking that whole sentence in Spanish, gently acknowledge it. No frustration, no beating yourself up, just a quiet internal nod. There it is again. And then consciously, deliberately switch back to English. Even if you have to mentally backtrack and rethink the entire sentence or idea from the beginning using English words.
Like redirecting your focus during meditation when your mind wanders.
Exactly like that. It's a gentle but firm guidance back to the target, which is thinking in English. Every single time you perform that catch and switch, you are actively strengthening the think in English muscle and weakening that old translation habit. It's the reps that count.
And speaking of muscles, this sounds like it could be really tiring, especially at first, which leads to obstacle 4. This is exhausting. I can only manage to think in English for like 5 minutes before my brain feels fried. Is this just too hard for some people?
No, it's absolutely not too hard for anyone. But yes, it is exhausting initially. Why? Because you are literally forging new neural pathways. Think about it. It's as mentally taxing as going to the gym and lifting weights for the very first time. Your muscles aren't used to it. They fatigue quickly.
You wouldn't expect to lift 200 pounds on day 1.
Exactly. Yeah. So don't expect to think in English for hours straight on day 1 either. You will bring out, get frustrated, and maybe even give up. The solution here is the 5-minute rule. Start incredibly small. Commit to just 5 minutes of conscious English thinking. Maybe while you make your coffee in the morning, or 5 minutes narrating your walk to the bus stop, or 5 minutes planning your evening meal. Just 5 focused minutes. But here's the crucial part. Do it every single day. Be ridiculously consistent. 5 minutes daily is infinitely more effective than trying to cram 2 hours on a Sunday and then doing nothing for the rest of the week.
Build the habit first, then the duration.
Precisely. Start small, stay consistent, and you will gradually, naturally build your mental stamina for thinking in English, just like you build physical strength over time.
What an incredible journey we've mapped out today. This really isn't just about learning a few English tricks, is it? It's a whole process. A conscious, deliberate deconstruction of those old, unhelpful habits, and then a patient, consistent reconstruction of new, much more effective ones. It really is about abandoning that comfortable crutch of your native language and taking that brave step, maybe initially small step, of immersing yourself thought by thought into a completely new way of operating mentally, a new way of being.
Beautifully put. Because that fluency killer mental translation, it absolutely thrives on the underlying belief that English is just a complex code you have to keep deciphering, referencing back to your real language. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, as a listener, is to fundamentally reject that belief. It's to treat English not as some foreign entity you visit occasionally, but as a second home for your thoughts. You're literally building new mental architecture. installing that new operating system we talked about.
And yeah, there will be moments of frustration. That's almost guaranteed, right? There will be times when that old habit feels incredibly strong, when you slip back into translation without even noticing at first. But listeners need to remember, with every single object you manage to name directly in English, every simple action you narrate to yourself, every slightly more complex thought you manage to formulate directly in English, you are laying another brick in the foundation of your new mental home. You are weakening that fluency killer bit by bit with every conscious effort.
And then one day, maybe sooner than you think, you'll find yourself just in the middle of a conversation, perhaps a fast-paced one, maybe one you would have struggled with before, and you'll suddenly realize something astonishing. You haven't translated a single word in the last 5 minutes. You haven't consciously thought about grammar rules at all. You're simply listening, understanding, and responding. Your thoughts are flowing directly, effortlessly into English, as natural as breathing. In that profound moment, you will know deep down that you've finally succeeded. You haven't just learned to speak English, you've learned to live in it.